Hi, dearest overthinker. Welcome to episode 3 of the podcast. Today, we're going to be speaking about one of the most humbling experiences that I've gone through, and that is burnout. The reason why it was such a difficult experience to navigate and different by all means was for multiple reasons. The first being, how would you define it, right? What does burnt out mean? What symptoms were I meant to have? What feelings were I meant to endure? What thoughts were I meant to have? Like, I didn't understand that. And when do you shift from burnt out to fatigued to just simply just anxious and stressed out to lazy, right? Like, how do we know what the difference is? How do we distinguish between that? And how do I classify where I fit in? Number 2, culture. From the culture I come from, we come from this mindset where it's the more hard work you put in, the more output you'll have, the more reward you will get, basically. And this is true in 95% of instances, I would say so. Like, if you should work hard towards things you want, and that is true. But also because of that, this phenomenon of burnt out is not something that's acknowledged in my culture. Because the thing is, and the logic remains, that if your mom could have endured the same thing, she did the same exams as you did, your father did the same exams as you did, your siblings did it as well, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins all did it, and they never complained about it. And even if they were burnt out, it was not acknowledged. So why do you think you're privileged enough for it to be accounted for you, right? The age-old dilemma. And so for you don't acknowledge it, it's not seen as something that's a problem, especially coming from like a desi culture where competition is competition is what everyone strives for.
Remember, life is a race. अगर तेज नहीं भागोगे तो कोई तुम्हें कुचल के आगे निकल जाएगा.
Competition is seen as something to be very proud of because it gives you grit, and which is true, but also because of that, like, this whole concept of burnout is not even taken into account at all. And last but not least, number 3, which is social media, right? Because in social media we're propagated this entire concept of be as productive as you can and be the best version of yourself. And whilst I do agree that social media can be used both as a tool or as a weapon, I feel like it is hard, especially for just like younger viewers, to like distinguish between what's motivation and what's toxic motivation. And I do agree that to an extent social media has been very inspiring for a lot of people. Like, it's shown these great examples of what people can strive from, coming from really humble backgrounds, and like, it basically motivates other people to strive for better, pursue for better, and to be ambitious, which is so important, and 100% I agree with that. But also, when you're like entirely consumed with this sort of mindset that you must be better, that you must push harder, that you must just like strive for that extra mile, then you will just like keep burning yourself out, and then you like just in your head kind of distort your feelings and thoughts into like you just being unproductive, you being lazy, because that's what like the media is telling you. So because of all these reasons, I found it so hard to distinguish when I was burnt out, how to deal with it, and just how to go about it generally. And that brings me to my next point. Okay, so my personal experience of burnout was really frustrating, but I don't think it was any different to the next person's. And in my experience, I was so frustrated because there were things that I was able to do a month prior, 2 months prior, with the same amount of effort and yield better results than I was at the time when I was burnt out. And that never made sense to me because I worked off the motto of more hard work will yield better results. So now when I was put on the stage, I was just like, that makes absolutely no sense. It's diabolical that I'm putting in so much work and I'm just not getting anything out of it, and everything felt miserable, right? Because in the pursuit of feeling productive, I'd go out with my friends, I'd work out, I'd study for 8-9 hours on end, so when I didn't even have to study that much, just for the means to yield the same sort of results that I was yielding like 2 months ago. And it was just so frustrating because that was never the case, and I was just in this constant like headspace of why is my suffering not validated? Because it must be. And that's like how you feel, right? You go through that sort of stress, you go through that sort of like depression and miserable like feeling, so that at the end of the day you can feel better, because at the end of the day it will be worth it. But it wasn't, and that made no sense to me. Also, what never made sense to me was why I was finding things so difficult, because in my head I was sorted, right? Firstly, I knew that I wanted to do something. I want to like have an impact in the world. I know that I have to do certain things in my life to put myself on a platform where I have such opportunities, and garner certain experiences. So it made no sense to me when I have the motivation to do so, and I'm a disciplined person, why I can't just get a task done. Why am I finding it so miserable, so overwhelming, so horrible to do something that was so easy for me just a bit ago? And I think the worst part about all of that was just me being at ends with myself constantly, because I was just like, what's wrong with you? And I was just in this cycle of self-doubt, and I'm just like sort of relaying my experience with burnout, because perhaps that might be something you're going through. And I think burnout essentially, in a way which you can like say what it is that when your effort, when there's so much effort and there is basically no reward, and that's when you start feeling burnt out. It's not necessarily like, oh, you're working too much, but it's like a mental feeling where you're putting in a lot and you're not getting any back, and that just makes you feel exhausted. So what can we do about it? So that brings me to the last bit of my podcast, to discuss why it's so common and what we can do about it. So the first thing is, the reason burnout is so common is because we overthink so much about what's gonna happen, right? We think about, oh my god, I have this task ahead, oh my god, I have to do this, I have so many things in front of me. So when you're even unwinding or relaxing, you're just constantly thinking about the task at hand. You're still constantly stressed and you're not allowing yourself to relax, and because of that you're just so drained and it's so taxing on you. So when the task comes and you have to like do it, it just seems so much larger than it actually is. So that's the first thing you must do. You must just allow yourself to relax and unwind when you're doing that, and we're just focused on a task, let that be the case. And I know it's easier said than done, but my mom always says this thing where she's like, you must put it into boxes, where when you're doing one thing you must just focus on that thing, and you should like set that aside, pack that box up and leave it, and work on your next one. You don't do 2 or 3 simultaneously. So that's the first thing I'd like to say. The second thing I'd like to say is, find something that you really enjoy, like a habit or like a time of day where you just keep to yourself to do something for yourself which you really enjoy, if you have the privilege to do so. I understand, I don't want to be ignorant and say that you can't just do that generally. So personally, I really like slow mornings. I hate being rushed in the mornings. I like waking up, having my breakfast, like my granola bowl. I take lots of pride in my breakfast bowls. My friends can vouch for that. And then I like watching a movie or reading a book and taking just like 25 minutes off like in the morning to do that. And it's like, it motivates me and like gets me going. Like, I like slow mornings. But I know there are other things that people might enjoy as well, and just find what that is for you and kind of try to integrate that into your daily lifestyle. This brings me to my last point, which is to take care of yourself, to nurture yourself. The first point being sleep well. Sleep minimum 6 to 7 hours a day. It's important for you to let your body reset. You personally don't have to tell me twice. I'll take midday naps if I can. But yeah, sleep is so important. Number 2 is eat well. Not in the hopes of becoming a skinny queen or a muscle mommy, but the pursuit of six-pack abs is completely understandable. I saw you walking down. I can relate. But on a more serious note, just because you want to feel healthy, because you don't want to feel lethargic and sluggish, right? And the last point is to move your body, like rock that body. No.
Whoa, 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 mysterious girl, move your body close to mine.
Come on, move your body. Come on, move your body.
But to get outdoors, go on your hot girl walk, go to the gym, play some sports, do just dance. That's my personal recommendation and my favorite like, you know, way to go about it. But yeah, prevention is always better than cure though. Like when things get, you know, when you feel like you're just overwhelmed and exhausted, just take a day break if you can. Like take at least 2 hours to yourself and take that time out, and you know, just let yourself unwind and reset. And yeah, that's all you can do. Perhaps also like make larger tasks you have ahead of you, break them into smaller tasks, slightly more digestible tasks, so they don't see, so it doesn't seem as intimidating or difficult. Another thing you can possibly do is, instead of having like 8 different tasks ahead of you in the day, if you can have just one task, the most important one, and try and complete that, so you just don't get so worked up in your head about what you must do. But that's all I actually have to say. This space is just for you to like understand that it's okay for you to take a deep breath in and take a step back. So that's all I have for you today, dearest overthinkers, and I will see you next week. Yours truly, Umber. Bye bye.